Welcome back to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I'm looking at some Dynasty sells. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So the first player, and I'm sure this is going to get a lot of angry comments, but Emeka Egbuka, we have to be clear what this means. I like Egbuka a lot. I was in on him during the rookie season. I said it many, many times that he was value. But this is a player where there have been a lot of overpays that I've seen, and also a lot of people trying to turn Egbuka into something he's not. And that means we have to take a look at the selling market. So far, he's been good. 8 catches, 96 yards, 3 touchdowns, 13 targets. Now, that's 4 catches, 48 yards, and 6.5 targets a game. That's great. That's really good for a rookie. I love that. That's not alpha volume. That's not bizarre he is a first-round wide receiver. It's great to see that he's succeeding. But it's the 3 touchdowns. It's the 3 touchdowns why people are obsessed with Emeka Egbuka. Now, there are some other good things. He's running the most routes, playing the most snaps, even more than Mike Evans. So he's out there. He has the role. That's really, really good. The problem with Egbuka is not that he's not good. It's that the valuation that he's currently valued at implies that there's a chance that he becomes a super alpha, a top dynasty wide receiver. And that is unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely. He doesn't profile as and never was an alpha wide receiver. Never. He didn't do it in college. There were 4 years in college. He was not an alpha in any of those 4 years. The best offering he had was 2022, where he averaged 88.5 yards a game, which is good. Marvin Harrison Jr. did outproduce him. JSN got hurt. So this was the least competition he ever faced. It was really just Marvin Harrison Jr. and no one else. Then in 2023 and 2024, he didn't duplicate this at all. He was fine. It's good that he still produced, even though Ohio State had a zillion good receivers. That's great. But if he were an alpha, he would have produced more. And he didn't. So, again, I like him. He's a good player. But he has a 19.7% target share so far. That's not special or exciting. Mike Evans is leading the Bucs in targets, receptions, and yards, but has no touchdowns. Again, Evans is older. I'm not saying that Evans is going to stop Egbuka from being a good wide receiver. But Emeka Egbuka is just a little overvalued, right? You have to get an offer. So how do you sell? You have to get an offer valuing him as something he can't be, right? And I have some of those that, and there were so many, but here are some of them that I felt were a little off. The first one, Egbuka in a second for Brian Thomas. I'm sorry, but Brian Thomas had a very, very productive rookie year in the NFL. One of the best of a rookie wide receiver. A whole year of that. He totaled over 1,200 yards. Emeka Egbuka is nowhere near on pace for that. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to do it or that he can't, produce. But Brian Thomas has already done it. I'm not going to panic on Brian Thomas after 2 down games. You might see him on a buy video coming up. I would take Brian Thomas here. The second one, sell Emeka Egbuka for 2 future firsts. Now, he's definitely worth more than 1 future first. But in Superflex, is Emeka Egbuka ever going to be worth more than 2 future firsts? I doubt it. That seems about the most he could ever be worth. I don't think he'll ever be worth more. So I'd take it. This is the least good of the 3. And then the last one is the most ridiculous. Emeka Egbuka and James Cook for Drake London and Trevion Henderson. I'm sorry, I'm not panicking about one bad game from Drake London where he was on the injury report all week and Michael Penix did nothing in that game. He had 15 targets in week 1. 15 targets. Drake London had more targets in week 1 than Emeka Egbuka had in both games. I'm all in on Drake London as an alpha. He was an alpha last year. Every game he's played with Michael Penix, he's been hyper-targeted, except the last one. I'm not super concerned. Trevion Henderson's also kind of a buy low for me. But, this is a smash accept in favor of the Drake London side. This is not close. So, again, I'd be interested in selling Emeka Egbuka if these are the types of prices I can get. Now, the second player, and I think this is, we talk about sell highs. This is a sell high. Travis Etienne. He's been good for 2 weeks. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say he's been bad because he has been good. But I am very skeptical here. I'm skeptical for the rest of the year, and I'm highly skeptical for Dynasty, for long-term, that there's real long-term value here. I don't buy it at all. Why don't I buy it? So this year, in 2 games, he's had 30 carries, 214 yards, 7.1 yards a carry, and 5 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. That's good. Really, really efficient, really, really good rushing production. He's averaging 15 carries a game, which he's done before, about 170 yards on those carries. So he's been more efficient. That's where the added production is. The receiving production, he has 31 receiving yards and 5 catches. That's similar to his past. That's not new. That's not special. He scored a touchdown. That's great, but he has 2 receiving touchdowns in his career. So we can't count on that. So it's not coming from the receiving production. It's all from the added rushing efficiency, not volume, efficiency. Now, there are a lot of reasons why I'm not buying this. So let's talk about first the matchups. Etienne has faced the Panthers and the Bengals so far. Those are 2 cupcake matchups. Those are the 2 matchups that are the easiest he'll have all year. The Panthers are a sieve. We know that. The Bengals defense is awful. We know that. Not so coming up. The Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks. The Chiefs and the Seahawks, we know, shut down running games. The 49ers are a strong defense, and the Texans honestly have a pretty strong front as well. So there are no cupcake matchups here, and it doesn't get easier later. The first 2 weeks that Etienne and the Jaguars had, those were the best matchups of the year. Now, another thing is that it's not only that Etienne looked good. Week 1, I mean, Tank Bigsby was still on the team. It was different. But in week 2, Tank Bigsby was traded, gone, and this is what they have now. They have Etienne, they have Tuden, they have LaQuinn Allen. That's what they have. And Tuden immediately became the RB2 in week 2. He had 8 carries, 42 yards, 2 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Tuden took over the RB2 role. He looked really good. Of the 2, I think most people say that Tuden looked better on his carries than Etienne, but both looked good. Both were good. But what I'm saying is, it's not like, say, the Cowboys, where all the other running backs look awful, and Javante's good. In these 2 games, it looked like any running back who was in this backfield would have succeeded in week 2, especially because Tuden was just as good, if not better. So I'm concerned there. Now, additionally, Etienne is from a zillion regimes ago. This is the final year of his rookie deal, 5th-year option. He'll be a free agent next year and will be 27 years old in the offseason. I am tired of getting burned over and over again saying the running back will hit free agency and sign a big contract. That did not happen with Rico Dowdle. That did not happen with Najee Harris at all. And is that going to happen with Travis Etienne? I doubt it. I doubt it. He's not Saquon Barkley. He's not even Josh Jacobs. He doesn't have that kind of track record. I don't think Etienne's signing a big free agent contract. So that's something I would not expect. I think it'll be more like Najee and Dobbins, or that was even worse. Regardless, I don't think Etienne is going to get a big deal. I think teams have learned from this. You're either hyper valuable or you're not. And to me, Etienne's not. He's not. He's good, not great. Now, how do you sell Travis Etienne? There are a lot of ways to do it, but I have 3 ideas. The first, I mean, this is the most ridiculous, I think, of the 3. Etienne and Travis Kelce for Tyler Warren. That's a smash accept. I would take Tyler Warren without a second thought, obviously. The second one, I think, is the most interesting. Sell Etienne for Connor and a 26-second. Why would you do this? Well, Connor can cover some of the production that you need or we're getting from Etienne. And by the time you get to the 2026 draft, the second's probably the most valuable thing here. So you're getting an asset and covering some of the production. So I like this one. And then the last one, Etienne and Nick Chubb for Matthew Golden. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from Matthew Golden. It has not translated to fantasy points, but he was open consistently in week 2. I think Golden is probably a strong buy low. So this would absolutely be a deal in Dynasty I would do, because only one of these assets I think is going to be valuable in 2026, and it's Matthew Golden. So if you can move off of Travis Etienne, I would look to do that. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I know we didn't have a Monday video this week. There's some recording issues, but I was still there in the Patreon covering all of the news. I did all my write-ups, so it was all there for patrons, even though there was no video on Monday. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. Click on the link in the top right corner, use patreon.com/fantasy advice, and you can sign up there. And that's really where I'm doing everything now. I mean, right now I've had like 50 messages yesterday. I mean, hundreds of Discord posts. That's where I'm doing things now. It's if you're looking for my fantasy advice interactive more than just this static video, the Patreon is going to be where it is now. It's not going to take place in other places. You can get all my rankings, including weekly start sit, access to the Discord, write-ups, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, which you'll see at the end of every video, including this one. Tiers begin at just $6 a month, $3 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos, and they'll detail everything that I'm offering in more detail. Now, again, I've had a lot of people sign up. I think the in-season is hard because people are so desperate. They get angry when they ask a question, and I'm not going to give free advice. But it is what it is. If I keep giving free advice, nobody will ever sign up. There's no incentive then to sign up. Why sign up if you could get the same advice for free? That doesn't make sense. So I have to do it this way. It is not going to change. If you are looking to interact with me and get my help with your fantasy football teams, that will be for patrons. That will not change. If you enjoy just the videos, watching the videos are not going away. I'm going to do YouTube for the foreseeable future. But if you're looking for anything interactive, that's going to be for patrons only. And that's just the way it is. So patreon.com/fantasy advice, code TylerYT50. And I hate going to the negative type of marketing like that, but I'm being honest. That is the reality. I don't want to lie to you and tell you something different. That is just how it is now. So again, I'd love to see more people sign up. I really appreciate when people do. A lot of people tell me it's the best decision they've ever made. So there are a lot of endorsements like that. And I hope to see more people there. With that said, I'll move into my next sell. So my next sell is Bryce Young, who's not a typical sell. He has been bad, but I'd say Young is more of a sell low, kind of. Certainly not really a sell high. So in 2 games this year, 58.9% completion, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 5.4 yards per attempt, 241 passing yards a game, 21 rushing yards a game. The rushing is nothing special. We have had passing volume, especially last week, but it's the same problem. No accuracy, no efficiency. Because over the first 2 years in the NFL, 60.3% completion rate, 5.8 yards per attempt. We've seen enough games of Bryce Young, right? I think I've seen enough. I think it's enough to say it's probably not going to change, right? This is what it is. So why I see a sell? Well, in week 2, he did throw 3 passing touchdowns, but he wasn't good. He wasn't good. In week 1, he was absolutely horrible. I think we can see that Bryce Young is not going to be a winner. He's not going to win with Bryce Young as your quarterback. Not the way things are going. He's 6-24 as a starter. Now, I know quarterback wins aren't everything, but this is year 3. We talked about earlier. He's never been a good real life passer. He doesn't run enough to make that a big factor, nor has he ever led, forget a winning team. He's never even led a competitive team. He's never even been competitive. So for those reasons, it is what it is. The Panthers are going to need to decide on Young's future in 2026. Generally, quarterbacks get 3 years. This is year 3. After year 3, the team has to pick up or decline the quarterback's 5th-year option. For Bryce Young, that's going to be $26.5 million. So they either have to commit $26.5 million to him in 2027, fully guaranteed, or not. And if they had to make that decision right now, they would not. They would not do that. So is it possible that Young gets to hang around in Carolina for 2026, finish out that year, or gets traded somewhere else and gets an opportunity to compete? Sure, but he's not heading toward being a franchise quarterback. That seems like we're done with that. I think the Panthers are, at the very least, looking for the Colts version of Daniel Jones, and at the most, looking, their version of Daniel Jones, or at the most, just looking to draft a quarterback in the top 5 and just being done with Bryce Young. Now, how do you sell Bryce Young? So there were so many quarterback injuries, so many. I don't know what's going on. Injury historical rates show that quarterbacks get injured the least of any position, but this year, lately, it seems like not just this year, the last 2 or 3 years, quarterback injuries have been a lot. So there are people who are desperate. And speaking of desperate, let's say you had Joe Burrow. This was in there, obviously, after the injury. Combine Bryce Young in a first for Joe Burrow. I mean, it's a weird situation you would be in to do this. You'd probably have to be rebuilding. This would probably have to be not your first, that you had an extra first. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have Joe Burrow over this package. Now, the other 2 deals I think are more clear cut. Bryce Young for a 26 third and 27 first. And there were many versions of this. There was a 26 first. There was versions of a 27 first. There was versions of a 26 first. Many versions of a first in the future for Bryce Young. And I would do that. I don't think Bryce Young is going to get back to where I need to see that I am so confident in him that he's worth a future first anymore. I think I'm done with that. I think I've seen enough bad. I don't think he's going to convince me. And Bryce Young, we have to understand, is not Trevor Lawrence, who has alternated between being pretty good, average, and not great. Bryce Young is just alternated between being not great, terrible, and abysmal. So he's never been good. So I just think it's a little too late. And then, speaking of buy lows, Bryce Young and Zach Charbonnet for Michael Penix. I've already seen more good from Michael Penix in his 4 or 5 starts than I've ever seen from Bryce Young. Michael Penix looks the part. And I got to tell you, Bryce Young doesn't. I know Michael Penix had a bad game this week, but I'm not done with Michael Penix. I think we've seen a lot of good from him. And in Superflex, I would much rather have Michael Penix. I trust that Michael Penix will be, the Falcons traded away their 2026 first. He's going to be their guy next year, period. Whereas Bryce Young might not be a starter at all. So I'd easily take Michael Penix here. So I'm not going to go back to the news from Sunday, but I covered all of that in the Patreon. However, I'm going to cover all the Patreon questions I've had because there are a lot of them. So we'll jump into that now. If a team you thought would be a contender starts out 0-2, is it time to seriously think about a retool? So for me, this one is pretty easy. If the team has actually scored a bunch of points, has a high, potential points, then I would maybe keep trying to compete. If the team's just been bad, then I could be thinking about a retool. So a lot of it depends on your points scored and your potential points. Is there really a good team in there, or is the team actually bad and you were just wrong, and then retool? So that's how I make that decision. Are you starting to change your opinion on Zay Flowers? So Zay Flowers was almost picked as the sell instead of Emeka Egbuka, but I looked through the trade database and Zay Flowers is not actually a sell. So clearly people are not actually buying in on Zay Flowers. Tough with Zay Flowers. I like him, but I know that at best, Zay Flowers can be a low-end wide receiver 1 in that offense. Zay Flowers is not going to be a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. That's not possible. So not with the amount that the Ravens pass. So I'd say a little bit of both, but I would have said he's a sell, but he's not according to the value. He might actually be a buy if people are valuing him lower. He's had a really, really good first 2 games, totally different role than he had in the past. Can Brian Thomas Jr. have elite production with Trevor Lawrence? Yes. I mean, he had 12 targets. So a lot of this was his fault. I mean, he really had a terrible game. If he had Trevor Lawrence was to blame for some of the bad targets, but if Brian Thomas had just executed well, he would have had a good game in this game. So I'm going to say yes, but I don't know. Something odd is going on there. The whole thing is kind of odd, but yes, someone as good as Brian Thomas as a rookie can probably have elite production with almost any quarterback. Wan'Dale Robinson is quietly the wide receiver 8 overall in the season, has 18 targets, only 24. Does he have a path to become more than a desperation PPR plan, a true dynasty asset? So Wan'Dale Robinson was one of my first sleepers, stashes in the 2023 end of season and 2024 offseason before last year. He was a player I talked about a lot. I do have noticed that his role is a little bit different. We're seeing some targets that are not behind the line of scrimmage, not 2 feet away. So if that's the case, that's interesting. He's a free agent after this year. He's really young. So yeah, I would say there's a path. It's not inconceivable. Wan'Dale Robinson, who was a good prospect, had good draft capital, has taken a step forward. But like a really true high-end dynasty asset, no, I don't see that. But I do think he could become more valuable than he was. What are some offers you would float for Joe Burrow? Well, we talked about one in the Bryce Young segment. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's probably the quarterbacks that are less valuable, but are healthy, like Bo Nix or Kyler, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, players in that range, something like that. I would consider getting rid of players I don't want that are productive. And there's a very long list of those. But yeah, I mean, it would mostly be involving older players that I don't want, or anyone who's producing now who's overvalued, that kind of stuff. Temperature check on Josh Downs. Are you worried or buying low on the lack of production we're seeing early season? So he was better in the last game. He actually out-targeted. He was the most targeted player on the Colts. I think what we're going to see, unfortunately, with the Colts is kind of a rotation. Josh Downs is still very good. I mean, if you look at the data, his route win rate and how, separation and all that, he's been good in the first 2 weeks. Nothing has changed with Josh Downs, the player. So if it's really low, I'm fine buying. But I think some of the issue with Josh Downs is until something major changes, how valuable is Josh Downs really going to be? So, but he's young enough that I'm willing to buy the rest of his career. So if I could get Josh Downs for a single second, I'd still do it. That would be a good buy. How are the rookie tight ends looking outside of Warren? I mean, Colston Loveland is going to be a wait. We're going to be waiting a long time to see Colston Loveland be relevant. Mason Taylor has been out there. Hasn't done much, but he's been out there. Hard when the Jets just did nothing last week. Harold Fannin has been really good, for sure. Elijah Arroyo, not good. Not good. He hasn't really been earning playing time at all. AJ Barner has been the starter, and AJ Barner is not good. Who else even is there? That was most of them. So kind of a mixed bag, I guess. And Terrence Ferguson has had no role at all. So there's him. How do you suggest handling teams that seem to be in the 103 to 105 range? So basically, this is saying if you're not good enough to win, but you're not probably going to get the 101, you're not like super tanking. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, just because you're not going to get the 101 doesn't mean you shouldn't rebuild. Yeah, the 101 is a great asset, but it's not the only asset, right? I mean, there are other ways to rebuild. Mine the waiver wire, sell your players, try to get picks because picks don't get hurt and picks rise in value. You just rebuild anyway. So yeah, there's really no secret there. You just rebuild anyway. There's nothing else you can do. You're not always going to have the worst team. Who are the most likely trending breakout candidates this year at the wide receiver and running back position? Oh, I mean, wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba has taken a step forward. Zay Flowers has taken a step forward. Rome Odunze has taken a step forward. I mean, those three have completely different roles than the past. So those are big step ups. Running back, I mean, for this year alone, Javonte Williams, but I don't trust that long term. And then in terms of other breakouts, I mean, there hasn't a lot of the running backs who've been good are the good ones. But I mean, we'll have to see. Bashal Tuden could be one. I liked what I saw from him in week 2. So that could be one to watch as we go. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that new hype button to help the videos in the algorithm. Plus, hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on Patreon. I've got all my fantasy football content and advice on there. 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. You can click on the link in the top right corner at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. Every sign up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.